What's up fam, my name is Tech, and welcome to my Mass Effect 3 multiplayer guide for the N7 Slayer. I'll be starting by going over the racial passives and then the active abilities. Following that, I'll give you some builds you can try to start off with the class. And as always, links to useful information will be in the description. So what can he do? Much like the other N7 classes, the Slayer is a very flexible class, and you have several options in terms of playstyles. The two passive trees are not where the good stuff comes in though, they are very much standard. Fitness is exactly the same as the base human class. An N7 Slayer is very similar, favoring power damage over weapon damage. The movement options are where things get spicy. For rolls, they have a combination between the Drow flips and the Asari blink. They flip while teleporting a short distance. This can go through walls, cover, enemies, and even up and down ladders. This crazy mobility comes at the cost of a small amount of barrier, and your melee even utilizes the same blinks. Your light melee chains a 3-hit combo, and the heavy melee blinks a short distance while slashing foes. As an N7 Slayer, you have access to Biotic Charge, Phase Disruptor, and Biotic Slash, 3 very useful abilities. Charge is pretty much the same as you would be used to, but Biotic Slash and Phase Disruptor are both unique to this class. Phase Disruptor is like a hit scan laser that hits an AoE around your crosshair. It does relatively high damage and consumes some of your barrier on cast. Much like grenades, it doesn't have a cooldown, so you can use it as long as you have barriers available. It can stagger targets by default, but it can be further enhanced to knock down infantry. Surprisingly enough, at least according to the Mass Effect wiki, it's not a detonator for biotic combos, but it is for all others. Because of its accuracy, it's a very effective tool at long ranges, which is not something Vanguards always get. If you watch my server's add-up video, I said Lash is like a big brother to pull. Biotic Slash is the same for Shockwave. On activation, you'll start a relatively long animation that will launch cascading projectiles in the direction you're facing. It can detonate all combos and can travel through walls, so far all the same as Shockwave. Where it gets better for Biotic Slash is that by default it has better damage and range than Shockwave at 420 and 60 meters to 715 and 20 meters respectively. Even when fully spec'd for damage, Shockwave can't get above its base damage, and when trying to increase range, Biotic Slash can get to 30 meters over Shockwave's 24. Shockwave only has 2 things over Biotic Slash. One, that Shockwave can be aimed up or down, whereas the other one can only be aimed straight. And Biotic Slash cannot be spec'd to prime targets. In my opinion, this one is not as practical a loss, since the lift effect on Shockwave is pretty short. Most people wouldn't be using it for the primer effect. Overall, because of its high base damage and stun potential, it's a very powerful ability for holding down choke points and dealing damage behind cover. As mentioned before, this class is pretty flexible, so you have a lot of options when it comes to builds. When classes have 3 good abilities, I like starting with 6 in the abilities and 4 in the passives. For this class it would look something like this. Start off by taking damage, weapon synergy, and barrier for charge, then take damage, efficient blast, and armor damage for phase disruptor, and both damage perks plus recharge speed for Biotic Slash. Detonate is also a valuable option. The only issue is that you have no primers for yourself, so you either need to use teammates with primers or the right ammo types to get use out of that, so plan accordingly. With this build you have an option at all ranges. You can use Phase Disruptor to damage at long range and then charge to secure kills while restoring barrier. You have Biotic Slash to deal with enemies at mid range, and if enemies are close to you, you always have charge as a panic button. If you like a more specialized build, I think charge and Phase Disruptor are a very strong combo. You can take most of the same perks switching out for power synergy on charge, and grab the extra points in passives. With this build you would dump Phase Disruptor until your barriers are down, then charge to get it all back, rinse and repeat. If you prefer Biotic Slash, you can do a similar build dropping Phase Disruptor instead. This class can even be effective with a melee build. To do this you definitely want charge, but the second ability doesn't matter too much. Then make sure to take all the melee perks in fitness. I highly recommend taking a Cyclonic Modulator and a Juggernaut Shield doing this. You'll get more value out of it than most other classes because of charge and the proximity to enemies. Since this class is so power focused, you want low weight weapons. SMGs and shotguns are preferred since you'll mostly be at mid to short range. Plus Phase Disruptor is long range and easy to aim. While learning this class you'll get a lot of value out of using your roll for traversal. It's really worth practicing and being aware, since a well-timed roll can get you very far away from enemies and a poorly timed one can plop you in a bad situation. The melee on this class is also super useful even if not focusing on it. The light combo does pretty high damage compared to other classes, and the heavy is good for closing distance. It can even hit enemies behind cover. Also a fun fact is that heavy melee will decapitate abominations, which should nullify the explosion if it kills. The best ammo types for this class are probably Disruptor, Cryo, and Incendiary. All 3 of these prime for combos, which this class is very good at detonating. Plus, aside from one rank 6 perk for Phase Disruptor, this class has nothing for shields, so Disruptor helps with that. Because this class utilizes its barrier for damage and utility, it benefits more from classes that are able to restore them. So that makes the Volus classes and the Geth Engineer really good teammates for you. If you find yourself fighting Reapers or Geth, you're probably going to have a good time. They both funnel a lot and most of their units are slow. However, be very careful against Collectors. Pretty much all the Vanguards hate Collector Storms for the reasons you probably know. If you like this video, please drop a like so the YouTube algorithm lets other people know this game is still being played. The Vorsha Soldier is next, and if you want to pick the one after that, keep an eye out for my next community poll. Later fam.